Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Raj Talks Games. As always, I am Raj, and today we're going to talk about games. So, I want to talk about some Switch 2 stuff that's going around right now. There's been some announcements, some leaks that came from certain companies, just about just various things Switch 2 related. And then I want to talk about a really good GameStop deal if you're Xbox owners that maybe don't play your console very much. So let's dive right into Switch 2 stuff. So we finally got some information on Hogwarts Legacy for the Nintendo Switch 2. As we talked about before, the game hadn't gone up for pre-order yet. I think a lot of people are kind of wondering, what's going on with this game because we haven't heard much about it other than the fact that it was coming at launch for the Nintendo Switch 2. We now have more information on the Switch 2 version of Hogwarts Legacy 2. So this is actually really good news. If you own the Nintendo Switch version of Hogwarts Legacy, you can actually upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2 version for only $10. So, big hats off to Nintendo for offering that. I don't know if it's Nintendo that's offering that or if it's WB Games. Kind of seems like maybe not necessarily a WB Games thing because I don't necessarily have faith in them as a company here over the last couple of years. Just really WB as a whole. But that's a whole other discussion. Their game studios are just kind of a mess. So if you already own the Nintendo Switch 1 version of this game, $10 gets you a nice upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2. Of course, the physical copy of the game is also now available for pre-order. I'm actually going to run to GameStop tomorrow and pre-order mine. And that's coming on a game keycard. So unfortunately, we're not going to get the whole game on the cartridge. Personally, I didn't expect to get that anyways, but, it would have been a cool option for, physical collectors like myself, and like I'm sure a lot of you are. But, I don't think the game key cards are the most terrible thing in the world. And we're actually going to talk a little more about the game key card situation today. So essentially what happened, and this is a pretty big leak that came out just in the course of the last couple of days from Arc System Works. They're better known as the developers of the Guilty Gear series, as well as Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which came out a few years ago, and the BlazBlue games. So they're big on fighting games, big-time fighting game publisher. They also have previously done work with Nintendo on games like Another Code. So we've got some good relationships here with Nintendo. It was discovered in a leak a few different things. First of all, there is supposedly a Switch 2 exclusive, or not necessarily exclusive, but a big Switch 2 title coming from Arc System Works this November that has yet to be announced. Speculation, as to what this game could be, it's completely up in the air. My first thought originally was, it would make sense here to do a Guilty Gear Strive Switch 2 edition, since that game did come out on the Nintendo Switch. But at the same time, I don't necessarily know that they would want to market that as a big new game for the Nintendo Switch because it is a game that has been out for a while. And Turbo was playing with the tripod. You haven't met Turbo yet because he's not come on camera, but he just tried to tip it over on me. So, sorry guys. This is what happens when you record. And you have cats and you're using a tripod with your iPhone. We just get chaos thanks to the orange one. Anyways, I think personally that it's probably not just going to be a Switch 2 version of Guilty Gear Strive, although I can see that getting a patch at some point to perform better, look better on the Switch 2. I would, if I had to take a guess, I would maybe think this is like a new BlazBlue game. We haven't seen a new one of those in quite a while. Maybe a licensed fighter of some sort. We know that Arc System Works has this existing relationship with Nintendo. I could maybe see them doing like some sort of a first-party Nintendo series as a fighter, perhaps. That's kind of a stretch, but it's a possibility. But I think that would be a really cool idea, just because they already had that relationship there. Arc System Works makes great fighting games. I mean, just like imagine the possibilities. Like, let's say they were to make a Fire Emblem fighting game along the lines of like a Soul Calibur or something like that, or I don't know. Like, I'm dreaming out loud, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what exactly that game is. when we get an official announcement from Arc System Works. I would imagine that's probably going to come within the next month because obviously, guys, it's May. November is not that far in the future. And we have Summer Games Fest coming up next month. And quite possibly a Nintendo Direct, if I had to guess, since, June traditionally has been a month that always had a Nintendo Direct around E3 time. We know Xbox is doing their developer showcase that weekend of what usually would be E3. We know Summer Games Fest is going to have their big Jeff Keighley Fest, which inevitably, let's hope, doesn't disappoint us like it has in the past. But that's, that's neither here or there. The other big thing that came out of this leak from Arc System Works, and, I think this really lends itself to why we're seeing so many game key cards. And that is, supposedly, according to this leak, game publishers were only being offered two options for physical cartridges. And that is either a game key card or the 64 gigabyte card, like the full, like the big Nintendo Switch 2 card. And I guess those were costing publishers $16 per cartridge to use the 64 gigabyte cartridges. Now, I do want to say thank you to CD Projekt Red, because obviously Cyberpunk 2077 is not a game key card. It is not a code in the box, which we still got code in the box too. I don't know, with the game key cards, you would think the game key in the box would go away, but lo and behold, Split Fiction is a code in a box. And I'm sure that's not the only game out there that's coming to the Switch 2 that's going to be just a download code. I've had to imagine, I'm sure most, if any, Ubisoft releases will probably be a code in the box, especially if they're making the Switch versions of already existing games. I do think now speaking of Ubisoft and Nintendo Switch 2, I do think it's already been confirmed that Star Wars Outlaws is going to be a game key card, not a code in the box. Which kudos to Ubisoft actually on the Switch 2 version of Star Wars Outlaws. It's actually the Gold Edition, contains all previously released DLC, and it's only $59.99. So this is actually cheaper than the PlayStation version / Xbox version when those versions launched. And it includes that first year DLC. So, as much grief as we give Ubisoft, that's actually a pretty good deal. I already bought the game on PlayStation. I got it for $35 on a sale, and I wasn't crazy about it. So I doubt very seriously that I would double dip on the Nintendo Switch 2 version. It was Turbo is on the tripod again, guys. This orange guy, I'm telling you, he is something. But if you don't already have Star Wars Outlaws, if you're interested. I know, at launch, it did very, very poorly just based on some gameplay things and some glitches. It just wasn't a very good game. They have fixed a lot of the issues with, the Force stealth and things like that. So, truthfully, from what I played, it's not a bad game. If you don't have it, if you're a Star Wars fan, check it out on Switch 2. It's for $60 with all the DLC. I think that's a pretty good deal. And again, it's on a game key card, which it's not the end of the world. If you're a frequent visitor of the NS Collectors subreddit, it's almost as if it's the apocalypse going on right now because of the game key cards, because of the code in the box, because we want our games complete on the cart with no day one update. It's kind of unrealistic these days. That subreddit's becoming absolutely ridiculous on that front. But 64 gigs or game key card. Those are pretty much the options that publishers are being offered. Now, all of your first-party Nintendo games, those are being put fully on the cart. So you don't have to worry about, your copy of Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be on a Switch 2 cart. You don't have to download it. It's ready to go. But that also explains, we heard originally that there were going to be smaller game cards available for 16 gig. So that definitely does explain finally why Bravely Default Flying Fairy is not getting a full release. It's getting a game key card. And, we knew ahead of time, this is only an 11 gigabyte game. So why is it on a key card? This is why. Because if I'm Square Enix, we're selling Bravely Default Flying Fairy on the Switch 2. We're selling that for $40. Why pay $16 per cart to put it all on a full physical cartridge? At that point, you've got to raise the price of the game. They're going to raise it at that point to $59.99 for what's really is a 15-year-old game now, guys. It's been out. It's been quite a while. I don't know that 15 years is correct. I think it's probably been a lot less than that. I don't think the 3DS was even in existence 15 years ago. But I that definitely is the reason why we're getting a game key card. Which again, I don't hate game key cards. Is it the best option for collectors? No, by all means, no. But I would rather have a game key card 100 times out of 100 over a code in a box. So that's it for like the Hogwarts 2, the Hogwarts Switch 2 version. That's kind of all I had to say about the game key cards for right now. Finally, I kind of want to hit on a few other announcements that we've had for the Switch 2 in the last few days. We did get an announcement. I think the announcement actually came out today. Borderlands 4 is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025. So we know that Borderlands 4 now is going to be available on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X in September. So we know that at some point then now, between then and the end of the year, we're also going to be able to play that on the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm going to be grabbing that on PlayStation personally, just because I feel like I would play it more on that system. But if you've never played a Borderlands game, it looks like it's probably going to be a pretty cool time to jump in. This looks like it might be a good return to form for the series. Nintendo did release a developer's voice for Borderlands 4 this week. So if you go on to Nintendo's YouTube or the Nintendo Today app, you'll find that. Take a watch. I haven't watched it yet personally, but I have been following Borderlands 4 prior to the Nintendo Switch 2 announcements. So that's kind of where we're going with that. And finally, speaking of the Nintendo Today app, I think that app is starting to get a little out of hand. It's starting to get a little ridiculous. Today's post, which it's Wednesday today, this video is going up on Thursday, so sorry. Wednesday's post this week on the Nintendo Today app was like the user guide for like the Nintendo Switch 2, just like a little the like I don't know if that's the warranty information or just like a little simplistic piece of paper they put in the box. Like Nintendo, I know you don't need to market the Switch 2 because we've already had pre-orders, we've already done all that. The system's going to sell real well, but you can do better than that, guys. Really, the user's manual on the Nintendo Today app. Find something. Give me like a screenshot of Donkey Kong or something, of Donkey Kong Bonanza, or that's just a little much. I just don't see the point, and it really makes me wonder. Like, once the Switch 2 launches, what are we going to be doing as far as the daily posts are concerned on the Nintendo Today app? Like, I know we had like a character feature on Samus back not too long after the app first launched. Maybe we'll get some more things like that. I don't know, but that was a little silly. One more thing I do want to elaborate on as well. If you did not get to pre-order a Nintendo Switch 2, I can tell you that actually I was at my GameStop yesterday to check on a Hogwarts pre-order, which they didn't have available yet. But I will be going back tomorrow because the Xbox Series X right now at GameStop, they are offering $415 trade-in credit for the Xbox Series X. Guys, my Xbox is, I use it to stream. Like, I use it to watch YouTube and Netflix and YouTube TV and, whatever else I'm streaming. I don't play many games on it. Now, granted, I've played more games on it over the last 6 months than I have probably in the entire 5 years I've owned it. But $415, yeah, I'm definitely taking that in tomorrow and saying, here you go, take it off my hands. That's going to pay for like every game I have pre-ordered on the Switch 2 and probably have some left over. But the point I'm getting at is if you weren't able to pre-order a system, I was told at my GameStop yesterday, and I didn't ask, my GameStop girl at Meadowbrook Mall in Bridgeport, West Virginia, she's like 10 out of 10 GameStop employee. Like, she is the best. Shout out to the girl, I think her name is Stormy, at Meadowbrook Mall GameStop in Bridgeport, West Virginia. She did mention when we were talking yesterday about the launch, because I had asked if they were doing a midnight, which unfortunately they're not. But they're actually going to get some extra systems. Nintendo has not told them, and GameStop corporate has not told them how many consoles. they'll be getting extra for walk-ins. But check your local GameStop. Ask them if they're going to be having any extra, because, you know, if you get in line real early on the midnight launch, I'm going to get one of those. Otherwise, your best bet's probably going to be walking in to the store at Walmart and Target and getting those on launch morning, which will be difficult. So, anyways, guys, that's all I have to go over today. I think I'm going to stick with this twice a week video format. Now, I don't know how much news I'm going to be covering over the next 2 weeks, because I'm leaving in about a week to go on vacation. I'm going to be gone for a week and a half. So I'm going to pre-record some videos this weekend to just kind of fill in some content while I'm gone. In the meantime, guys, check out the Discord. The link is in the description. Drop a comment, like, subscribe. I want to really grow this community. I'm having fun doing this. And, you know, I'd really love to hear from you guys. So until next time, we'll see you.